Rise and Shine Rwanda, it's Monday the 12th of January.
Coming up on today's Rise and Shine Rwanda.
We explore a cultural tradition that you'll definitely want to hear about.
A style profile, Fidelis explores the fabulous fashion business with one designer determined to make her mark.
And the experts over at Waka Fitness give us the Monday motivation to gaining those coveted abs.
Good morning, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Makeda Mahadio.
And me, Regis Isheja. Over the next hour, we'll bring you all the latest news, sports, and lifestyle headlines from here in Rwanda and around the world. And the Rise and Shine team are here in the studio. It's Monday, guys. What do we have in the world of the money?
Well, in the money today, I bring you, the money behind fashion. I have all the details behind the fashion industry in Rwanda.
Something you know a little bit about, I'm thinking.
A little bit.
See that? Well, Alan, it looks like we're kind of matching here.
I know, right? Although you look like you're going to the south of France.
I'm getting to Cannes right after here. What's going on? What's going on in lifestyle?
Well, today, as every Monday, it's Motivation Monday. So I've got all the juicy, exercises that you need to know so that you can get abs.
Okay.
Nice six-pack abs.
I've never heard about exercises being juicy, but you know what?
Yeah,
Everyone can do it.
It's Alan, right. All right, Arnold, sports. What happened over the weekend?
The latest from our local league, Royal Sports is in a turmoil, and the latest from the English Premier League.
Okay, well, all that and more still to come. But first, Rise and Shine story of the day.
Today we thought we'd look into a bit of culture. Many of us can readily recognize Rwandan cultural aspects when we see them, right? Things like Mishanana, Nyambo, and of course Agaseche. But do we really know their history, where they came from, what exactly they mean? Well, I went to meet with one man who agreed to teach me all about Amasunzu, a traditional Rwandan hairstyle. Check it out. Amasunzu is a traditional Rwandan hairstyle worn years ago by mostly men and young girls. Whereas we can all easily recognize this cultural staple, I've come to realize that not many of us know its meanings and origins. So, I went to meet with someone who considers himself something of an Amasunzu connoisseur. I wanted to ask him why he still wears this hairstyle that some would call outdated.
ndeba ibintu byinshi nkora ubushakashatsi mbona yuko nta muntu hanze wundi wogosha agatari umunyarwanda baje kubikuraho abazungu baje kubikuraho abaje bose basanga umunyarwanda yogosha nta wundi wogoshaga ku isi noneho babikuraho ngo ni imihango ya gipagani abantu bamaze kuba nyine abasirimu bogosha za mbega bazitaga ngo iki noneho batangira kogosha punk kandi punk ubona yuko ari amasunzu sasa kuva igihe imyaka 45 irashize cyangwa 50 barakureho amasunzu sasa noneho bagarura za punk urumva barashaka kugereranya n'amasunzu kandi amasunzu urumva niyo yarindanga munyarwanda niyo yarangaga munyarwanda aho kugira ngo asongoza amenyo yisharambure yigire mubi we yarogoshaga kanasokoza akagira umuntu nyine akigira.
So what is the meaning of the various styles and designs that can be found in different photos of the once popular hairstyle?
Aya nogosha bwa mbere niyo ya mbere na mbere na mama ufite imyaka 104 ntayazi niwe wayambwiye ngo habayeho aya ningobeke kuko agobetse hanyuma haza kuza intambara baravuga bati mureke gucyaringa kwigira ni mugende muhurutura kakigobetse mugira impagarike yitwa impagarike hakaba intambike na yabiri rimwe rireba imbere mu maso irindi rireba inyuma mu bitugu hakabaho igisuguri. Igisuguri ni nka cya kindi cya Habyarimana n'umwami Kigeli. Hanyuma hakaza ibisage. Ibisage nabyo byari iby'abana batoya bashyiragaho amasaro. Hakabaho n'imbwirenga. Imbwirenga ni meza cyane. Yari inziga ebyiri zihekanye. Rumwe imbere urundi inyuma.
With such an interesting story, it can be considered unfortunate that this hairstyle, save a few artists and historians, is currently regarded as only an ancient tradition.
Niba bigira koko bigishwa kwigira, niba bigira koko nibigire. Isi yose irogosha kandi kogosha n'umurimbo. Sasa kugira ngo noneho bogoshe kubyo babonye haze, nibogoshe kubya gakondo byabo. Icyo nababwira nicyo nayategeye kugira ngo mberekere kwereka isi yose yuko ari bo bogoshaga basekuru bose atari abapagani. Ntabwo wakwituka ngo so ngo numupagani uriya wundi w'umunyamahanga ngo umwite ubutagatifu. Urumva uzaba wivumye, uzaba uvumye ababyeyi bawe. Sasa n'ukwigira umunyarwanda ukogosha amasunzu y'imodeli nyinshi ukishimira ukereka n'isi yose yuko wogoshaga batarogosha. Uko niko kwigira. Nicyo nababwira abasore bubu. Nicyo nogoshe kubera bo.
Let's see if more young people heed Wamazane's plea. Makeda Mahadio, Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Now, Makeda, you've traveled the world. You've seen different hairstyles from high tops to mohawks to all those styles that are out there. What do Amasunzu tell you? What have you gotten from meeting this man and from seeing how the haircut was taking place?
Well, I learned a lot from him, you know, like the whole history. I could only put some of the things that he said in the video, but he told me a lot of things about, you know.
He had a lot to say, right?
Oh, yeah, he had a lot to say, where the hairstyle came from, you know, and why it was phased out. A lot of what he said there, what it means, what a lot of the different styles and things like that mean. And, you know, ever since I first saw Amasunzu, I was like, this is very interesting. And I always wanted to know what the different, you know, swirls and patterns and things like that actually meant. So it was awesome to hear that they all definitely mean something. Something I think he didn't say in the video is that also it's not just a men's thing, because I do say it's like men and young girls, but apparently women had it as well. They would have rounded edges, whereas men would have
until they got married, and then they would have urugori, which is like
shaving it off.
And that's why they call women in Rwanda, the ones that are married, abatega urugori. That means they have urugori on their heads, batiz urugori.
Okay.
So it means a lot. It means they're not girls anymore, they're women now.
Right.
Yeah, so it means...
I always wondered, you know, I was saying that earlier when I was editing the video, why is it that I had learned that at Gutkuikurudas, the ceremony after, you know, getting married, that they cut like a little piece of hair, you know?
Because it meant losing of virginity. Back then, that's what it meant. I don't know if it has the same meaning these days.
I think it might be the symbolism of, I guess, shaving off. Right.
I don't know exactly what it is. We need to talk to someone who's really good at that. But I know it had something to do with losing your virginity after getting married.
Okay. Definitely something interesting. I love this entire
thing. Did you like the experience?
Oh, for sure. And I definitely want to try and do more things just about culture and things like that, because I feel like, you know, us, especially as diasporas as well, we don't know, you know, the proper meaning of all of our culture.
The roots of our culture.
The roots. We just know kind of what they are. We see them, but we can't really speak on them extensively. So I'm really glad that I did this. I'm excited to do more.
All right. Just out of curiosity, do you think we should bring Amasunzu back?
Oh, for sure. Actually,
really?
One of our producers was joking earlier, but I think that we should do it. She said one of the guys should get the haircut.
Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, you guys are gonna have to wait. Well, you guys are gonna have to wait a long time. All right. You're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. We'll be right back after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back, and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's get to my favorite part of the show, the money. Business news. Fidelis Karangwa has the details.
Business stories making headlines today. Rwanda's credit and savings institutions will this month conduct a study on the causes of non-performing loans across the country. This comes after bad loans increased from 6.8 to 7.7% between December of 2013 and September of 2014. The study is expected to help credit institutions to come up with mechanisms based on scientific evidence on factors behind bad loans and solutions to address them. Tigo Rwanda has unveiled an online television service for its 4G internet subscribers. The telecom firm said that it entered into partnership with iRocco TV, an online entertainment TV, to provide subscription-based video entertainment for its 4G clients. This will enable 4G wireless users unlimited access to entertainment services from across the globe and ultimately lower the price of 4G networks as more people purchase its services. And East African currencies will face added pressure in the first half of this year due to increased demand for imports. It is expected that demand for imports will grow faster than for exports due to the drop in oil prices that is expected to increase liquidity across Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. The region's major exports of tea and coffee will continue fetching lower prices in the global markets, widening the current account deficits and weakening currencies. Now, with the fashion industry growing at a faster pace in Rwanda, we are seeing more people getting into business, and their favorite one being fashion. Well, I went to find out what's behind this new craze. Let's check it out. Although unemployment is still a big issue in the country, the youth of Rwanda are determined to combat this issue, opening up new businesses every day, with one of their favorite being the fashion business. So why is this business such a big hit? For this entrepreneur, it came to her naturally.
I've been liking fashion ever since I was a little child. I liked looking unique. And then I love the fact that with fashion, everyone's attention is on you. And fashion describes who you are inside. I mean, when you're like in Kinyarwanda, there is a proverb, if I'm good in translating it, like what we see outside is what you are inside. So I love the appearance and just being unique. So that made me to be into fashion and to love being different from others.
For most locals, however, buying designer clothes is not a habit they're used to. And this could negatively affect business for the designers, which is why some of them are open to offering just tailoring services to their clients.
I wouldn't say I have a lot of locals or I have a lot of experts coming to the shop. I have a mixture of them. Like this past summer, there were a lot of experts coming around, like missionaries, like other people coming on different programs. So they come to the shop, and on a daily basis, I get locals coming in. They want their clothes made. As much as on a daily basis, experts come in the shop. They want gifts to take home, you know. So I wouldn't say I have many of locals, and I target both locals and experts.
With the rising numbers in designers, competition in this business can be very stiff. So how do these local designers feel about this?
Well, I like competition. I would feel proud if the fashion industry is growing in Rwanda. I wouldn't feel good if I was the only one, if I was the only designer in this country. So if it's about competition, I think it's a way of bringing up the fashion industry in the country. So it doesn't matter to me. I also want to help young designers. So to me, the competition in the fashion industry doesn't affect me negatively. It really helps me to grow up on a daily basis, because if people know that in Rwanda there are different designers, that nice fabrics and all that, you know, that's how I'm going to benefit.
The growth in businesses like this will not only solve our unemployment problems, but soon Rwandan designers can start exporting their creations to other countries, bringing in more foreign exchange for the country. Karangwa Fidelis, Rise and Shine Rwanda. Joining us in studio is Christine Babazi, CEO of Christine's Creative Collections. Welcome, Christine, to Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So we all know fashion is now a big hit in Kigali, in Rwanda in general. We see new designers coming up every day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in this business, you have to use a lot of material and all these kinds of stuff. Is it always easy finding the material that you need for your business here in Rwanda?
It's not easy finding material in Rwanda, being the fact that we don't produce African fabric in Rwanda. That's a business, that's a big business that one can invest in a lot of money, but we don't have any investor in that. Not that the country is not, excuse me, not that the country is not good in doing it, but it just takes only one thing. So I get most of my materials, I import them, which is hard because I'm going to pay tax. I'm going to take time controlling how far it has come, and I'm going to pay transport, of course, but if we had it in Rwanda, it would be better for us and it would simplify work for us as designers. So it's hard, it's a little bit hard, you know.
Completely. So there's definitely room for people to explore that as a business here in Rwanda.
So if someone out there is listening to this, please invest in producing materials, African fabrics in Rwanda, please, yeah.
Also, now we also know that, you know, also designs are a bit of an issue. You know, we tend to see maybe people coming up with the same designs every day.
Yeah.
What are you doing different with your store? Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about presenting yourself out there and making sure that people love what you're doing, so you get customers. I mean, marketing is not always the easiest solution, especially when you're starting out. I mean, your business has only been here for what, about a year now?
Yeah. So
marketing is obviously not an option that you can, you know, invest in too much. So what are you doing differently to get customers to come to your store?
Well, we all get inspirations from different places, but be it the internet or our daily life. But at the end of the day, I'm going to shine as CCC, you know, as Christine's Creative Collections. So in this way, if I look at you right now and I see your shirt is looking good, but it's missing something, I edit it in my mind. I'm like, why don't I do this? Why don't I change this in this way that I'm sure that you haven't thought about it? Your shirt is perfectly made, but still, if I made it for you in another way, you'd like it. So I just do the thinking for myself. I'm like, let me change this. Yes, it's beautiful. Let me change it. That's the most part of my designing. But still, I can sit home, let's say in the middle of the night, and something is running in my mind, and I'm like, okay, let me go out in the living room and start drawing it. So that's how I come up with something that is unique. And then when my client walks in the shop and sees all the things hung up, and they're like, I think I saw this somewhere, I'm like, look at it carefully, and then you're going to find it's completely different to what you saw somewhere else or what you thought you had seen before.
So tell us, as you've like I said, you've been in this business for about 1 year. Is it an easy business to get into for someone watching our show today who might be interested in the fashion industry as well? Could you tell us in a few words what the experience was for you? Is it an easy thing to get into, and you know, just a bit of that?
Well, I wouldn't say, it depends on how you are financially or what you have in your mind or the creativity part of you. You might enter in it when you have a lot of money, but you don't know what to do in that case, you know? And then on the other hand, I mean, all it requires is the passion you have for it. So we have very many designers in Rwanda, upcoming designers, I would say. If you have someone to finance you, or you have an opportunity that you want to use to get into the business, do it and get it, because it's not easy. I've been working on it for like 10 years, but I had not yet got the finance and the power to stand out, you know? So it requires all these small things that come up together to make that fashion business. So if you're ready and you have money for it, because of course you need capital as starting any other business, you have a concept for it, you have your goals, and you have something that is going to make you unique in the market, you can go for it.
So according to you, what would you say is the future of the fashion industry here in Rwanda? What should we look forward to?
Well, I think if we're given like just 5 years, we'll be somewhere. You'll be seeing us in runways in the Western world, even in Rwanda, like organizing big shows, and people come across the world to attend them, you know? So that's the future I see in Rwanda. I see people's minds changing. loving what we have home, which is a touch of the African fabric in anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Christine, for coming to this show.
You're welcome.
We hope to see more of your work here in Rwanda and outside Rwanda. Wish you all the best.
Thanks a lot.
Well, you're up to date with today's business headlines. Sports news coming up next in just 10 minutes with Ono Kwizera.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Sports news now with me, Arnold Kwizera. Starting with some sad news, the Rwanda Tennis Federation will organize an annual tennis tournament in memory of deceased star Jean-Claude Gasigwa, who died suddenly while jogging on Thursday. This was announced by Minister for Sports and Culture, Joseph Habineza, while addressing mourners during the burial of the 31-year-old at Rusoro Cemetery on Saturday. At the time of his passing, Gasigwa was the #1 ranked player in the region. The burial was attended by regional stars in the sport such as Duncan Mugabe, David Oringa, and Alan Cooper. Rayon Sports Football Club will need to quickly put their house in order if they are to cling onto their star players and resurrect a faltering campaign. Rayon Sports officials have blamed the club sponsors for the financial crisis that the club is engulfed in. The club officials allege that their sponsors are not meeting their obligation to provide funds to the Nyanza-based side. The Blues players and coaching staff have not been paid for the 2 months of November and December, and this has created disillusion among the players who are yet to win a game since November. Senegal coach Alain Giresse has included Sadio Mane in his final squad for the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations despite his calf injury. Mane's club Southampton have said the player's injury will keep him out of action for 4 to 6 weeks, though the Senegalese Federation are willing to take the risk in the hope Mane 22 can recover. And if necessary, they will make use of the rule that allows an injured player to be replaced up to 48 hours before their opening match. Mane is set to meet up with the Teranga Lions in Morocco to attend their training camp in order to be assessed by the Senegalese medical team. Italy-based player Boukary Dramé, who plays for Atalanta, and Inter Milan's Ibrahima Mbaye have been dropped from Giresse's provisional squad of 28 players. Chelsea opened up a 2-point lead at the top of the English Premier League as Manchester City were held by a spirited Everton at Goodison Park. Alan Pardew was off to a winning start for Crystal Palace as his team downed Tottenham, winning 2-1 in the weekend's early kickoff. Liverpool had Markovic to thank for their 4th straight away win as they held on to a 1-0 win over 10-man Sunderland. Strikes from Diego Costa and Oscar were enough to hand Chelsea an avenging victory over Newcastle United at Stamford Bridge. Steve Naismith rose highest to meet a Leighton Baines free kick as Everton earned a deserved point after a Fernando header had put the visitors in the lead at Goodison Park. Makeda and Regis will be right back after the break with the latest news headlines.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's take a look now at news-making headlines here in Rwanda and around the world. The Ministry of Infrastructure and the Tanzania National Roads Agency launched a one-stop border post to improve customs and immigration procedures on the Rwanda-Tanzania border. The Rusumo border project consists of an 80-meter-long bridge, an administration building, verification storage, control shed for vehicles, and a parking yard for trucks. Officials said that the post is expected to eliminate traffic congestion and improve efficiency in the cargo transportation while cutting costs. The project is expected to be duplicated at all border posts in the region to ease intra-regional trade and accelerate economic integration.
The Ministry of Education has warned school administrators against opening unofficial dates. This comes after reports show that some schools had planned to open for the first term of 2015 today. Officials say that primary and secondary schools under the national curriculum must not open before or later than January 26.
Securing funding for regional projects is said to be on top of the agenda for the upcoming East African Community Heads of State Summit scheduled for next month in Nairobi. This comes after debate on the alternative financing method for the EAC has been set on the table at the Secretariat since 2012. The bloc has been negotiating how much each country should contribute in an effort to meet its budget, which is mostly funded by donors. Officials said that the other three pillars of the EAC integration, customs unit, common market and protocol, and monetary union should first be implemented to lay the ground for political federation.
At least 19 people were killed and several injured by a bomb strapped to a girl reported to be aged about 10 in northeastern Nigeria. The bomb exploded in a market in the city of Maiduguri in Borno State. No group has said it carried out the attack, but all the signs point to the militant Islamist Boko Haram group. The market is reported to have been targeted twice in a week by female bombers late last year. Boko Haram has taken control of main towns and villages in northeastern Nigeria over the past year. The conflict has displaced at least 1.5 million people, while more than 2,000 were killed last year. Time now for a review of the headlines. Michael Kiche joins us now to look through some of the front pages. I got it, man. I got it. I'm getting there.
Well done.
All right, welcome back again.
You're a good student. Thank you.
Welcome back. All right, so let's start with this thing that has become a trend, basically, which is mayors resigning. Mm-hmm. Tell us what's happening, because I'm totally confused about what's going on.
Oh, well, the last we had is the Nyamasheke and Karongi mayors throwing in the towel. That just comes a day after Oscar, who is the Rusizi mayor, was arrested.
Which is what we talked about 3 days ago. So
exactly.
It changes. It's basically,
yes.
It all keeps, like, it's
yeah,
unbelievable.
It's escalating. Now we're having 6 mayors who have resigned, 1 is arrested. And what I tend to think, basically, is this, Regis and Makeda, that it's either Imihigo is making the mayors to bite more than they can chew, or rather, when you're having these results of Imihigo being brought out, somebody somewhere is cooking up figures just to impress the public, but on the ground, we do not have real, actual development.
Well, it's far from reality, basically. What do you think is going to change now? Because there's pressure when there is Imihigo, because you actually have to deliver, you've promised certain things, yes. And at the end of the year, you know it's going to come back, and basically you better be ready. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, it's not so certain about what's going to happen. Actually, there's been speculation that some of the mayors have resigned out of pressure, you know, to resign by other unknown or unsaid sources, right? And we really don't know what's going to happen to it. But again, I think there is indication that Imihigo, the key performance indicators of Imihigo, they're going to have to be revised so that they become more realistic and more objective in the next Imihigo.
My goodness, it's quite an interesting trend. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic. There has been yet another attack in Nigeria. People are suspecting that it's Boko Haram 2 days ago. Since the beginning of the year, I mean, we've been hearing more and more things. Yes. 2,000 people in Nigeria have been killed.
In 5 days.
In 5 days. Yes. And it seems as though this isn't getting quite as much attention as other supposed terrorist attacks. So what's your take?
Well, the Boko Haram issue now, some are saying that the government is actually playing politics about this, because they're saying the largely affected areas, that is the northeastern Nigeria, has been traditionally an opposition region. Therefore, some are saying that the government is playing politics about this, given that in just a month's time, they're going to go for elections, right? Now, with that in mind, for me, I feel 2 issues here that we should take a look at. One, we should not allow on African soil the likes of these illegitimate governments that are just trying to force their ways and try to create their own, you know, kind of autonomous illegal governments. The same thing we see with FDLR. Right. Secondly, we should not allow our very own African governments to treat its own as second-class citizens. And that's the perfect case with what you're seeing in Nigeria. And you know, Nigeria, I think, you know, the insurgency has been there for 6 years, and there's what you call media fatigue. It gets to a point that people no longer want to hear or talk anymore about it because we've said it, and time and again, it's been repeated.
Right, it was trendy when it was the bring back
our girls thing,
yes,
exactly.
on social media, but now, a year after,
well, yeah,
where are the results,
exactly,
right? Right. The thing now that kind of gets to me is the fact that Nigeria is a power player when it comes to Africa. They have oil. Usually when the power countries in the world, the Western countries, do not intervene in Africa and other parts of the world, they say, well, it's not like you have oil, so maybe that's why they're not coming. In this case, Nigeria is a power player. Why do you think it's not getting as much attention as it should?
Basically, okay, it's not about the fact that it's not a power player, but I think it's the political, usually the political involvement of these particular issues, the political ties that these issues tend to have. And people tend to have that feeling of trying to distance themselves again from such like issues because we know it will keep going on and on and on and on. But behind the scenes is much more than what meets the eye, what the media reports, you know. Right.
Well, yesterday, Kiche, around 12, around noon, Kigali time, I was in front of a television. I was watching what was going on in France. A huge march that's probably going to be remembered in France's history.
Yes.
I mean, it was like the streets were full. Last time I think they saw this was in 1998 when they won the World Cup. So I'm trying to understand here, what do you think happened at Charlie Hebdo 4 days ago, and what do you think, because it kept going on for 3 days, they killed some more people, the police had to seize certain places and kill the terrorists. Where do you think this is going? Is this a first? Are we going to see more? Or this is an isolated act, wasn't directed by ISIS? Where do you think this is going?
Well, pretty much why we had a lot of sounds, people joining in and making that orchestra about the Charlie Hebdo attacks is the fact that this was an attack on media. Now, media is one of the very vital things in the world. In all civilized nations, the media plays a very vital part. And given that this was just an attack on something which is ideological, you know, I mean, come on, people talk about these things, you know. You say your opinion and I tell you my opinion. But you don't take a gun to come and end my life simply because of my opinion, right? And that's the kind of turn that we didn't expect about these Charlie Hebdo attacks. Just also to inform our viewers, a German newspaper has been attacked. There's been an arson attack on a German newspaper because it's being said that this newspaper did reprint the cartoons of Prophet Muhammad, right? That were done by Charlie Hebdo. So it's kind of sprawling again to something else. But we know it's the tendency for these terrorist groups and their cells that they have their planned attacks in a particular manner and in given environments or countries. Therefore, yes, it might continue. But if we are seeing a rise in the security alert, then probably we shall have these particular attacks being contained. Actually, right.
Speaking of Germany, before we wrap up, I saw the Chancellor, because leaders and heads of states from all over the world were there yesterday to show sympathy to the French and the French population. The Chancellor, Angela Merkel, was there, and the thing that I also saw was a lot of African presidents made the trip. Now, the thing that's coming back to me, I understand there's solidarity, it makes sense, but why not shed the same light when it comes to Boko Haram? Why not shed the same light when it comes to FDLR and all these other attacks that we're seeing in Africa?
Oh, I think that's a little bit interesting because time and again, we Africans are fond of, you know, just riding other things into the Western countries, you know. We'd love to be associated with them. In as much as they do little about us. I mean, even look at the coverage of the news, you know. They will not, definitely the international media organizations will not give that much attention to the African issues as compared to what's happening in their own country. And then our leaders are buying into that, you know. But at the same time, let us not play politics with people's lives. That's happened. This must be condemned in the strongest terms possible. Fine, to that extent, yes, and you know, we can give room and space for that. Okay,
absolutely,
yes. But beyond such like instances, whereas we have deaths, fatalities, then on other matters, then African leaders and we as Africans need to approach these issues soberly. And one more thing I'd like to add about these particular attacks is that these ideological attacks are simply going to propel activism against extremist Islamist ideologies, and it's going to create a big blow onto the non-violent Islamic community.
Well, our president once said, His Excellency President Paul Kagame once said, we do not go to Belgium or France to resolve our problems. We should be resolving them here in Africa. It's sad to see our presidents going there instead of being here and resolving them here. Thank you, Kiche.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for having me.
All right, lots more still to come. Lifestyle is up next, plus a look at what's hot right now in our daily debate section. Hot Topics. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. A little bit of lifestyle now. Alan, what do you have for us today?
Well, it's Motivation Mondays, and I'm taking you guys to the gym so we can get some abs.
All right. Abs, baby.
In this week's Motivation Monday, we learn about different exercises we can do to tone up our stomachs and get those sexy washboard abs that we all long for. Let's take a look.
Hello viewers, my name is Trino Evans, and today we are going to show you on how you can work on your belly to make it stronger. I and Eve are going to show you different exercises on how you can make your core strong. Actually, the whole of abdominal exercises are called rectus abdominis. So I'm going to show you one of the exercises that you can do at your home or at the gym. These are just beginners exercises. The next exercise is called Russian twist. I and Eve we're going to show you how to do Russian twist. Eve, follow my instruction. Yeah. Hold. So like this. Move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is the last exercise, though in a different style. Dear viewers, those were 3 exercises that I recommend you to do, 8 reps and 3 sets. Have a great week.
Joining us now in the studio is Janetta Craikwell-Graham. She's a co-founder as well as a trainer at Waka Fitness. Welcome.
Hi, Alan.
Hi, so today we're talking about carbohydrates, right?
Yes.
So tell us, carbohydrates, first of all, can you explain, because a lot of people don't really understand what carbohydrates are. Can you explain that to us?
Sure. A carbohydrate is a macronutrient, just like a protein and a fat. It's a necessary part of your diet, and it's actually the biggest source of energy for most people. So carbohydrates are found in fruits, vegetables, grains, breads, pastas, anything you can think of pretty much has a carbohydrate in it.
It's funny because for me, when I think of carbohydrates, I think of starches. I never thought that also, fruits have carbohydrates.
Right. I mean, most of our vegetables and a lot of unprocessed foods actually have presence of most of the macronutrients that we need. Some presence of protein, some presence of fat. It's just that certain types of food have more carbohydrates than others. So something like a bread or a potato has more carbohydrates than something else like a leafy green. But you can still get your carbohydrate source from a leafy green as well.
Okay. Now, if you can explain a little bit about the good and the bad carbohydrates, because I think people don't really know the difference.
Sure. I think that in the recent years, there's been a lot of no carbohydrates talk, and that's one myth I definitely want to cancel out. Carbohydrates are a necessary part of your diet. Some of the good ones that you might be able to eat are ones that come from vegetables, fruits, whole grains, which means that it's unprocessed. When we talk about unprocessed, we usually say complex carbohydrates. So this means that they're harder for our bodies to digest, and therefore it takes more energy, and therefore we burn more calories as we're eating and processing them.
Like what, for example?
So let's say a whole grain brown rice. That's a great carbohydrate. Any type of spinach, a sweet potato instead of a white potato. So that would be considered a class of good carbs, a fruit. So any of those are good, what we might call good carbohydrates. Now, the bad ones are the ones that we kind of know are bad. They're typically processed, so that means that they've been created in a factory, they're not natural, and they tend to have a lot of sugars in them as well. So any types of sugary drinks, fruit drinks, sweets are carbohydrates, unrefined breads like white breads, unrefined rice like white rice. Those body of carbohydrates, we like to say they're simple carbohydrates because the sugars are more easily broken down by our bodies. And as soon as they're broken down, they turn into straight up sugar, and that turns into fat. And they tend to make us feel very slow, lethargic, less energy, and tired. That's why after you eat all that candy, you feel so exhausted.
Right.
Then the more slow burning, high in fiber, high in nutrient, complex carbohydrates, those are the good ones. So we like to recommend people stay away from the bad ones and take on the good ones, not completely cut them out.
Right, right. So you're also mentioning fruits. What kind of fruits contain good carbohydrates?
I mean, pretty much any fruit that's in its natural form has a good source of carbohydrates. So whatever is available locally that you can get is a good source of carbohydrates for you to take in.
Now, is there some myths that you also may want to mention that are not true, or just?
So I know a lot of people these days seem to want to stay away from the breads and the whole grain pastas and the whole grain rice. I'd like to say that, I think it's a healthy part of your diet to have some amount of breads or grains present in your meal, but you should definitely try to restrict them to a certain percentage. I think in previous episodes we suggested, how much of the percentage of carbohydrates you should have in your diet. And I think it's important for everyone to know what that percentage is depending on what their goals are. So that's when you talk to your fitness professional and say, I want to lose weight, and he's able to tell you, okay, this is the percentage of carbohydrates you should take in. And you'll definitely see, adjusting your carbohydrates is another way of quickly losing weight. So reducing that slightly, and let's say adding on more protein or adding on more vegetables is a good way to lose weight.
Right. And let's say, for example, instead of white bread, going to whole wheat.
Exactly. So it's not saying completely eliminate it, but just find some easy replacements that are all available in Rwanda, and you can still enjoy your meals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Janetta.
You're welcome.
All right. Coming up next is Hot Topics. Stay tuned. Welcome back. It's that Hot Topics time again. As always, you can join in on the debates through our social media, whether it's on Facebook or on Twitter. Let's get into our first hot topic, guys. So, Miss Rwanda auditions are finally here for you guys who might be auditioning. I'm kidding. But basically, the reason why I want to talk about it is not only for the viewers who may want to audition, but there's been a little bit of, people are talking about, because the website actually has the what do you call it, the
criteria.
Thank you very much. of what they're looking for, and you know, some of the criterias are a bit, you know, some people are saying maybe it's like I guess you're limiting the kind of girls that would audition. For example, the minimum height is 170 meters, and then.
That's the usual.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
170 meters, the weight range is between 45 and 65 kgs. They have to stay single during the whole crown duration.
Whoa.
And they can only have a child unless it's adopted. Now, for some people, they're like, I mean, really? What do you mean, why does it have to be? First of all,
like the official criteria, so?
You just missed it, but
wow.
Yes, it's actually on the website of the Ministry of Sports and Culture. What do you guys think about some of these criteria?
I mean, it's kind of like that in a lot of different places. I think by single they mean unmarried.
Adopted?
No, single as in like you can't be.
You can't
Who's
have
gonna
boyfriend.
know? I mean, it's single as in unmarried. I don't think it's single as in you can't have a date here and there, I suppose. Normally what it is, the criteria in other places around the world for pageants or Miss whatever's, is that they can't get married during the competition. They can't be married before. They can't have children.
They can't
a lot
have
of things
children?
like that. Yeah.
No.
I mean, and if you listen to the age range, what's the age range
between
again?
18 and 24.
It's between 18 and 24. So
right, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it's not that. I mean.
But what about the weight and height thing? Because
this is also around the world as well.
It's a worldwide thing. That's not a.
You know what? I think it's when I heard some of the people who criticized it, what they were saying was that the average Rwandan, it doesn't fit that category. So are you saying to a young girl that she has to be a certain height?
Is that true
or
though?
a certain weight to be pretty?
Statistically, is that true that the average young girl does not fit that criteria?
No, I feel like honestly that the reason why they even have it's because most of the time, the people between 18 and 24 who are normally even into beauty pageants around normally fit this criteria. So it's not really a problem. I guess the only one that people might have misunderstood is the single, single, which I think, like Makeda said, means just don't get married while you're still
having a child only when you've the child is adopted and not yours. That's another
but
thing.
generally it's okay.
Anyway,
I'm excited about Miss Rwanda personally.
Absolutely. And I have to mention as well that the Kigali auditions are actually taking part January 24th at Sportsview Hotel. Anyway, so next is Charlie Hebdo. It's basically going all over social media. It's about the gunman that went and shot into a satirical magazine and shot 12 people, including 2 policemen. Now, there's a lot of talk about, first of all, the magazine itself, because, a lot of the cartoons that they draw were very controversial in that, they speak about, the Prophet Muhammad, Islam, in not a very positive light.
But they do the same thing
for other religions as well.
Absolutely.
But I mean, some people feel like maybe they got what they, you know what I mean? Like it's probably their fault. They shouldn't go so far as making fun of religion. I don't know how you guys feel, because there are people who also say, hey, there's freedom of speech, so they can say whatever they want. How do you guys feel about this whole situation?
Whatever it was, I mean, 12 people didn't deserve to die.
Absolutely. Now, at the same time, on that token, the fact that there's people dying in Nigeria, you guys talked about it in the news, 2,000 people dying by Boko Haram. Why is it we don't see enough of that in the news? And what's even worse is the African media is speaking about Charlie Hebdo more than they are talking about Boko Haram.
Like Makeda and I were telling Kishe not too long ago, as I was telling him, as I was watching the news yesterday and there was reports of what was going on in Paris, there was a huge march yesterday, and you kept seeing because President François Hollande was, awaiting them, greeting them as they were walking into the Château de l'Élysée, and there were about 10 to 15 African presidents that walked in. And that showed to me that, yes, there's sympathy, there's, it makes sense, it's international politics, but at the same time...
What about Nigeria?
Right, what about what you know, what's going on in Somalia, that's been going on in Somalia forever, and all these other countries in Africa. I mean, you feel like the crisis in Mali, the crisis in Central African Republic didn't get as much media.
I mean, in terms of the media attention, yeah, it depends on the media houses, and Kiche also had some interesting insights on that earlier that he was talking about. But when it comes to events like this, we have to call it what it is. It's an event. There was a huge march. Now, I don't know if there's been a huge march like that in Nigeria.
No.
There hasn't been anything like that in Somalia.
No.
So you have to also kind of bring that kind of attention to yourself. I think sometimes,
to
like,
say,
if you
it's an
organize
African
something,
problem. It is not. I'm not blaming the European or American media houses. They're doing what they're supposed to do. How about our own media houses and our own people? Why don't they go in the streets and, you know, march?
And you know, the thing with media is media actually has great influence on like solutions being gotten for certain problems. So I feel like as African media, we should just push for our own problems and find solutions for them, because if we don't do it, who will?
Exactly.
I mean, you know, it's just something we need to
Self-reliance.
do better.
Absolutely. I see Arnold had nothing to say. Anyway, let's go on to the next hot topic. This one is more on a light note. I don't know if you guys heard about last week. There was a billionaire. This billionaire, his name is Harold Ham. He's an oil tycoon, divorcing his wife and decides to basically give her a payment settlement of $974 million to give her an actual check. There's actually an image of the check, as you can see right there. And she said no to it initially, saying, I deserve more, because he is worth $18 billion. And they were married for 26 years. And imagine, she turned it down at first, but just over the weekend, she cashed the check. I guess she woke up and realized.
As we all knew it was gonna happen. I mean, what's so surprising there?
No, but
I mean, you know what? I guess at a certain point, it becomes more about principle. You've been there through whatever and blah, blah, blah. I think for us, we just can't even think straight because we're like, how many what?
I'm pretty sure she
$974
couldn't
million.
think straight either, but she knew how much he was worth. So she
$18
was trying to milk him as
million.
much as
Exactly,
possible.
and personally, I feel like, you know what, I get that. I get the fact that she says she deserves more.
Right.
Then stick to it. Why change your mind and
Because it's
check after that?
974
It's just you lose
But
credibility.
if you're married
It's
to someone who's worth
crazy.
that much, 974, however, doesn't really mean, I guess, what it means to us. And
No,
I
it
suppose she
doesn't.
thought that she deserved
Exactly.
more.
For her, it was probably like nothing.
But I
Which-
mean, either
then
way,
stick to
she
your
won't be
principle.
hungry
I mean,
tonight.
if he has $18 billion,
Just-
we know
just
in the
sad.
States what's going on with the prenup thing.
Right.
She maybe thought she was, you know, she deserved $9 billion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, hey.
Oh well.
Where do you cash
Poor
a
girl.
$1 billion?
Actually, she was like, I wonder what the cash teller thought when she saw
Well,
that.
I have an advice for her. Hire security.
Exactly.
You're gonna need it.
Exactly. All right. Well, that was a pretty interesting.
I wish I could be friends with her, but anyway.
Oh, look at this one. Tweet her later. You never know what's going to happen. And speaking of tweeting, don't forget that we love to hear your thoughts, your comments, and your feedback on what we're talking about here on Rise and Shine Rwanda. Tweet us at Rise and Shine RW. Like us on Facebook and send us your ideas for programs. Check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda YouTube page where you can catch all the shows and reports that we do. Find us on Instagram, Rise and Shine RW. Or simply check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda website.
Well, that's all the time we have for you guys, unfortunately. But do let us know what you think about the program, and we'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, same place. For now, I'm Regis Isheja.
And I'm Makeda Mahadio. Looking forward to being with you guys again. But until then, from the two of us and the rest of the Rise and Shine team, we would like to wish you guys an amazing day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.